no rate cuts and no extra funding. Unlike the Bank of Japan earlier today, the European Central Bank is sitting firmly on its hands. Katie Martin has been listening to Mario Draghi, the ECB president, explain what it's all about. It's interesting here, Katie. The Eurozone economy, since the last ECB meeting, has deteriorated. Inflation is subdued, but the bank's not about to do anything.
No, not just yet, but what Draghi did make very clear repeatedly today is that policy is accommodative and it's going to stay that way. So we heard
But he's not prepared to do anything extra at this point.
Not just yet, but we've heard him talk in the past about whatever it takes to save the euro, and now we're hearing him talk about policy being accommodative for as long as it takes. So that's the new line. There's definitely no possibility of policy tightening anytime soon.
That's true. I mean, the interesting thing here, of course, is that he continues to try and put pressure on the politicians to continue with their structural reforms in the meantime. Is it a case that he's really just trying to put more of that pressure on, or is it a case that the ECB itself is perhaps a little bit of a loss of what to do?
I think pretty much every month we hear something from Draghi and from Trichet before him about how there's a limit to what we can do by ourselves. We need national governments and we need individual banks to be doing all the right things. That's in itself not a particularly new line, but what has become clear in this press conference is that they are trying to find ways to help unglue, for example, the credit markets for small businesses without taking the pressure off national governments and without overstepping the ECB's mandate. This is really hard. I mean, you mentioned the BOJ. It's an important comparison because Draghi was talking about there being very different sorts of central banks and very different structures, and the ECB is not the BOJ.
The Bank of Japan. But that is interesting because, of course, the Bank of Japan earlier today came out with its big guns blazing, I should say, the fact that they want to end deflation after, what, about 10 years of it. And it does look as if they're certainly going to pour trillions of yen into the market, unlike the ECB, which just seems to be sitting there going, nope, we're not about to do anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, the Bank of Japan really chucked the kitchen sink at it this
Absolutely.
morning. I mean, it'd be pretty extraordinary to see two central banks do that in one day. But it's more about, with Draghi, what he could do and what the safety nets are. I mean, he spoke a number of times about the bond buying plan, which hasn't yet been activated, but which could be activated. So he says we've got safety nets in place.
That is an interesting point, is that they actually do have the safety nets, and they're planning to perhaps even bolster those if needs be anymore.
And one of the explanations that I've heard this afternoon as to why the euro pushed higher at the end of the press conference, or towards the end of the press conference, is that no, he didn't announce anything that could help lending conditions for small businesses, but he did talk about that as a possibility at some length, and so it's clear that the central bank is thinking about this. It's something that could come through. So this is the central bank that's thinking about how it can help. As he said
himself, they're looking 360 degrees. A non-standard. I thought 360 degrees.
Going round in circles. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. Interesting point here. Cyprus, of course, which was the big blow up since the last meeting. And he seemed to insist that everyone else, that the deal, was the way it should have been.
Yes, he said Plan A, the plan that was initially put forward for Cyprus, which involved putting a levy on even small depositors, mom, pop, widows and orphans,
which of course got kicked out.
Was not smart. It was quickly rectified, he said, but it was not smart. That's important. That tells us something about the decision-making process that we have in Europe at the moment in terms of crisis fighting.
Absolutely. But the other interesting thing, of course, is that he repeated what everybody else said. Hey, the deal we got, which of course included that levy, is not a template for other debtors. I mean, can we believe him on that, Katie?
The T word, the template word. Utter it at your peril. There's a lot of confusion about this. Obviously, the head of the Eurogroup did imply that the sort of structure that we had in Cyprus could be seen again in other markets, and that has unnerved depositors, senior bank debt holders, and all the rest of it. Draghi today was talking about it not being a template for other countries, but just as with the proposed levy on small depositors in Cyprus, cat's out of the bag.
Absolutely, I think that sort of sums it up. Katie, thank you very much indeed.